Daniel.
I forget. Okay, screen. And now, just a second, you see probably John Cage, a very important composer. Now you see Atsum, and we start with the first slide. So Atsum, which means in Latin, I am here, I am present. I took this name actually from a publication that was initiated by a very important Romanian philosopher. He only published a few issues, but I like the name Atsum, which again means I am here, I am present. And I think it's very important for all of us to be so-called here. I mean, not just so-called, but here in the fullest sense. Here I am present. I am aware, if I am to describe further this word. So, reimagining the spatial experience of ice cream. Wow, you know, after Palladio and Alberti and Brunelleschi and so on, here we are reimagining the spatial experience of ice cream. What is the spatial experience of ice cream? Please give me a break. I ate a lot of ice cream in my life, but I never thought of the spatial experience of ice cream. You know, these strategies to promote even further, you know, marketing, you know, devices and techniques and strategies disturb me very much. So, waffles, cones, and cups, the architecture of the ice cream. You know, a very appealing title in today's Arch Daily, meant again to mislead us, actually, as if we are at a time where our concerns, you know, is about waffles, cones, and cups. And again, you know, when are we going to turn our backs on the obsession with consuming, and consuming? You know, it's unbelievable, in fact. You know, the whole world is confronted with serious problems, and we talk about waffles, cones, and cups. I find it very vulgar and very frivolous and very disturbing. Sorry for being a moralist. And look at this picture. Is it really what we need? You know, aligned tens, if not hundreds of ice cream cups, you know, in shades of pink and other little colors, you know. Really, look, I mean, is it really what we need? I mean, as if we don't have enough food, as if we don't have enough ice creams. Look at them, how they are aligned, you know, tens of kinds of ice creams. And again, I love ice cream, but do we need the architecture of ice cream? I don't know. I mean, maybe we need it, but not as a first priority. Look here again, you know, how it is trying to seduce you into buying, because this is what it is about. It is about selling and buying. In other words, it's about capitalism. It's about producing in order to consume. And then, of course, at the end of this cycle, we think inevitably of the toilets. And here comes Shigeru Ban proposing high-end, highly sophisticated, you know, toilets for Tokyo. So things are connect, you know, and again, why don't we talk also about the spiritual life, the spiritual, you know, activity in everybody's soul and mind, or contemplation, or, you know, what is life, what is death? Instead, we talk about waffles and cones and, you know, futuristic toilets. I find it very disturbing. It seems to be amusing, but besides the apparent, you know, happy-go-lucky atmosphere, hides, I think, an incredible lack of awareness. At this very moment, there are millions of people who die of hunger, who have nothing to eat. An Arch Daily presents this vulgar article about the abundance of the West, because it's mainly the West, of course, and about, again, producing in order to consume. Yes, we can make beautiful little pavilions, but the essence of it is actually eating and forgetting about the troubles of the world. It's just going in the opposite direction of awareness. So look what they wrote: sherbet, gelato, mochi, and more. The architecture of ice cream, is there such a thing? The architecture of ice cream is as diverse as its structure and flavors, ranging from pop-ups and small stands to elaborate creameries, whether designing for a larger franchise with set standards or a bespoke mom and pop shop. Architects and designers are reimagining the spatial experience of ice cream. In turn, they are catering to evolving tastes while embodying the identity of diverse brands. Obviously, it's about selling. Today, the architecture of ice cream often reflects specific narratives and imagery appealing to public audiences. From the well-known and architecturally inspired brand Cool House, RAM, to the Instagram-ready Museum of Ice Cream in San Francisco and New York, contemporary designs make the most of color, environmental graphics, and lighting. The following projects showcase scoop shops and ice cream inspired architecture around the world, each combining spatial experience with hospitality design and a touch of gastronomy. Of course, the touch of gastronomy, that's all that matters to us. You turn on the TV and what do you see? You see, here in this country, you even see a well-known poet, cooking. It is unbelievable, actually, what is happening. I find it unbelievable. Of course, we all have to eat. Yes, we do. But we eat in order to live and not the other way around. We don't live in order to eat. We eat in order to live. The priority here, the goal here is to live, not to eat. Anyway, yes, they're splendid. And I'm sure those ice creams are very, very tasty. Yes, it's all beautiful. Who said that life is difficult and is not full of pleasure? He was wrong. Look at this. Magnificent, really. Who cares about the millions who have nothing to eat? Nobody. We have our pink shops with tens of kinds of delicious ice creams, and we enjoy our life, our pink lives. Look at this. Look at this. Really, the frivolousness, the infantilization of culture alarms me very much. I even wonder, why do we keep publishing books? Do we really need them? As long as we have steaks and beer and ice cream, it's enough. Yes, look how beautiful everything is, This really, the infantilization of culture worries me very much. And it is, we know where it originates from. It originates from capitalism, from its obsession with money. It originates in Hollywood. It originates in those countries that are kind of well-to-do, but they have incredible problems themselves. But they ignore them. They ignore that a black man is shot because of an incident, is shot, not allowed to live, while we eat our pinkish ice cream in pinkish architectural, spaces. So if you want, let's talk a little bit about this. What do you make of this? What do you make of this concern, obsessive concern with eating, with consuming, with pink, with a so-called architecture of the ice cream? I see the ice cream is not giving me peace of mind. Okay, Charles Ims. All right. So he was a very interesting man. He became an architect almost obliquely. So Charles Ims, he was born on the 17th of June in 1907 and died on August 21st in 1978, 78, so 42 years ago. was an American designer, architect, and filmmaker. In creative partnership with his spouse, Ray Kaiser Ims, he was responsible for groundbreaking contributions in the field of architecture, furniture design, industrial design, manufacturing, and the photographic arts. I would underline his cooperation with his wife. I think there was a genuine love story between them, and they created an incredible fusion between two talents. And I think Ray, his wife, had a powerful influence on Charles Eames. I will show first a few buildings he built when he was alone, before he met Ray. And we'll see what they built together after meeting Ray. So in this case, as opposed to other famous couples in architecture and design, in this case, I would say that the lady, Ray Kaiser Eames, had, maybe it is not acknowledged, and maybe I'm wrong, but I see a clear difference between what he built before he met her and how they built after he met her. So I think she had a very refreshing role in their partnership. And again, I think there was a great love between them, because all the pictures that show them together testify to this. So this presentation will be also some kind of an homage to the power of love. Okay, this is the gentleman sitting, you know, almost sinking in one of his many chairs. He designed many chairs. He's probably in the showroom of Knoll, a famous, I don't know, manufacturer or distributor or both in the United States of high-end pieces of furniture. Here he is a young man full of vitality. I think he was born in Arkansas, so you know, it shows in a way that he doesn't have that paleness and that weakness of the New York intellectual. Anyway, here he is, you know, kind of in an Eero Saarinen position. They actually worked together, Charles Eames with Eero Saarinen, and we'll see two buildings at least that they conceived together. Now here he is with his wife, and well, in older age, but they were very, very successful, and I do believe it was a great, great chemical wedding between them, so to speak. Here they are again. I think they complemented each other very well, and this doesn't happen, unfortunately, very often. Like Alvarado also, he worked together with both his wives, and but they were always, the wives were kind of, you know, it wasn't really an acknowledged partnership. Alto was the signature architect, and the wife was the wife, although she was an architect, and they did have a role in their designs. But in this case, they come together, Ray and Charles Eames, and she comes first, actually, and she should come first. Now, sorry for this picture, it's not very, the resolution is not great. Now, we begin with the first building that he built in 1932 by himself. He didn't yet meet Ray. It's, you know, traditional, so to speak, building, but it does have some design decisions here present in a, I would say, pleasing way. And, you know, I'm not a great expert in traditional architecture, but I can feel that there is here a creator at work who also innovates here and there. The resoluteness of the triangle, especially the main one in the center, and the asymmetry because of the chimney, there is a slight touch of modernity. And here even more so. Strangely, this man who is considered almost an avant-garde designer and architect, initially he had almost Gothic aspirations, and these are not very common in the United States. But as you can see, even there is a garage, but it's almost like you know, it's a garage door that leads into a church or a chapel. Interesting. Well, the interior, forgive the interior, is neither my taste, not, it was refurbished. This is not Charles Ims in any way. It was refurbished recently, and you know, the fire might enjoy it in the chimney, but I don't like it. St. Mary's Church, Helena, in Arkansas, 1934. So 2 years after he built that building, he built this church. Surprising church, you know, because I don't know, it has a certain expressionism. It is austere. It is, I mean, if I saw this building in Germany, for example, or maybe some other European country, I would have said, sure. But in Arkansas, in the States, he was already breaking the rules. I think he did. I think he should be congratulated for breaking the rules. Yeah, it's, you know, 1934. It has you know, a predictable interior, but the wood structure of the roof is you know, as it should be. It's not hiding anything. It's not embellished. Is honest and vigorous. So again, he built these buildings by himself. Ray was not yet part of his life or their lives. He built two churches actually in Arkansas. Now you see the second one, St. Mary's Catholic Church, also in Arkansas, 1 year later. This is a little bit different. I feel somehow closer to the first one, but you know, this is the second church he built, and maybe doesn't look too impressive now, but it was in 1934, and it has a certain, you know, structural honesty and a certain clarity of conception. And again, he's good at this. And yeah, a happy moment is not as happy as the ice cream experience, but in a church, maybe a moderate happiness is more appropriate, maybe. From 1936, house, I only have this picture. I searched hard to find other pictures. I couldn't, and I know it's almost totally irrelevant, so sorry. Then another house, here I have more pictures, the Meyer house, more ample house, and you know, you can tell already that the virus of modernity is visiting him, because it was in his mind, in his spirit, there was an opening for being irreverentious a little bit. Look at these bricks, you know, with interesting. You know, actually, you know, this can be done. You can use bricks, and you can just, you know, even by yourself, you can carve something into the brick. You know, some, you know, hermetic text, or you know, some kind of you know, narration. Anyway, but don't get the wrong idea, because you'll arrive at something very different. As I said, he's evolving into someone totally different in the proximity of Ray. But I think he had there was in him an opening in his heart and in his mind for modernity. But this is an interesting idea, and look, even on the right, yes, you can this can be done even by the designer or the architect. You just take a few bricks, and you know, you imprint certain thoughts or feelings you have, and then ask the bricklayer, or maybe even contribute yourself to the building of the wall and incorporate them in, and you create something, you know, with very simple means. Why not? Okay, now another house from 1936, again, Charles only. You know, it's the only picture I found. Now, maybe there are a few more with this one, but you know, the level of invention is very low here, and inside even more so, tragically. But you see the two armchairs that would sit quite well in any architecture of the ice cream. These are, you know, the present day owners of the house. Now, the bridge house from 1945, it was unbuilt, where he worked with Eero Saarinen, and we talked about Saarinen. Well, sorry, I misspelled. Saarinen is double A, not double R. The great architect. They just did this project. Now you see already we are already in the realm of iconoclasm and resolute modernity. It was not built, but this is announcement was an announcement or a prelude for what was to come. And again, you know, we are dealing with 1945. So, you know, this was very progressive for that time. They even created this, I don't know what it is, a collage, or I don't know if it was done during the time. Anyway, so in this case, Charles Eames and Eero Saarinen. A fine drawing. I don't know who did the drawing, if it was Charles Eames or Eero Saarinen, but whoever did it is an evocative sketch. Now the Jefferson here, I don't think I have an image, but it's very unclear what's going on. He participated in this competition in 1947, but I only found this image. You tell me what is going on here, because I don't understand. It looks more like an urban planning. I don't really see the memorial. Anyway, this house, though, it's more recent, if I can say so. Is from his modernistic period, where he was already working with Ray, and you can tell the difference. Once Ray came in, Charles also took off with a lot of aplomb, and although there is a traditional part, so to speak, on the top, but on the first floor, there is this courageous, you know, insertion of something else. And this is, you know, a possible suggestion for a certain kind of architecture, where you used to, you know, if you have an inclination for rifts or dualities, you know, many houses have two floors, you know, private houses. You can make one floor for one side of yourself or of the client, and the other floor for the other side of the client, whoever that client is. So you can tell here, you know, it's an intervention that is resolutely modern, and you know, they even used curved glass. Anyway, it's an interesting house, actually. It even has some, you know, you could say Japanese influence, and is moving in the direction that they were evolving into, and you'll see that very soon. I actually think that tradition is worthy only when there is also betrayal there. I am not playing with words, but in English and in French and in other languages, the word tradition has the same etymological root as the word treason or trahir in French, meaning to betray. And I think tradition, in order to be alive and remain alive, needs a certain level of betrayal, and which spices it, you know, and to talk in gastronomical terms. So tradition, if it doesn't involve a certain level of innovation, usually these two terms I use, tradition and innovation. But if tradition doesn't have the betrayal of innovation risks becoming a traditionalism, and any ism is very close to dogma, and dogma is against life and against art, I think, and against faith also. Anyway, so here you have tradition and innovation at the same time, or betrayal. Now we arrive at the most famous work, the Ims House, which was actually built initially not for themselves. It was a study. Somebody had a piece of land and wanted to create experimental houses, and commissioned Charles Eames and Eero Saarinen and Ray, of course, to design a few houses. And I think just 2 houses had been built. This is one of them and the most important, and they moved in. Charles Eames and Ray Eames, they moved in and they lived there until the end of their lives. But first, I think I show you this house and Tensa house. Now, just a second, please. I'll show you both. Yes, this is, before we arrive at the climax of this presentation, I'll show the other, the other house, which is called case study number 9. Charles and Ray Eames lived in case study number 8. This is number 9, and they also worked with Eero Saarinen and Associates. So it's kind of a showroom house, a prototypical house, let's call it the house of the future. And they did everything. They designed the house and they designed the furnishings, and maybe they even brought apples from their courtyard, the yard there, and maybe Ray prepared the tea or a coffee. Anyway, they did everything. Yeah, it was a time of optimism, a belief in the future, a belief in innovations, a belief in the betrayals of innovation. And there was a certain amount of joy, I would say, and I think that joy was nourished by the love between Charles and Ray, and they got along well, probably with Eero Saarinen. Now, they didn't multiply these houses. This was built just once, the case number 1 and number 9, and that was it. But this announced the architecture of mid-century North American modernism that was very influential and very convincing. Please be kind and turn off the microphone if you don't mind, and we'll talk after we end this presentation. Now, for us, maybe it doesn't look so striking, but imagine that it was built 70 years ago. I mean, if you build such a house today, it will be published by Arch Daily immediately after the article on the architecture of ice cream. But it was built 70 years earlier. Now, before we arrive at the climax of their architectural activities, the roundhouse, they did a showroom for Herman Miller in Los Angeles 70 years ago as well. They also did a facade. So they were trying to bring modernity into the urban landscape of America in 1950s. So for that time, it was a very innovative, progressive, groundbreaking kind of aesthetics. I imagine they didn't do the bench. I think the bench belonged to a different designer. In case there was a designer, sorry for the bench, but if you can make abstraction of the bench, you can appreciate, I think, the facade, which is, you know, could have been built today. Yeah, that bench there is unbearable. Sorry, I love benches, but not in this context. Anyway, and not that kind of bench. Now we arrive at the Ims House, and this is one of the most famous buildings in 20th century architecture, meaning as a private residence. It truly is, and it truly deserves to be. And I actually value it more than Villa Savoie. Sorry, Le Corbusier. I admire Le Corbusier. I have extensive PowerPoint presentations about him. And I admire Frank Lloyd Wright, but somehow the Ims House stands out in a very positive way and is in no way inferior to these two very famous houses, Fallingwater and Villa Savoie. So it was, you know, prepared to be some kind of a prototypical house, the case study house number 8, in a beautiful forest, and the Pacific Ocean was not far away. So, you know, in a beautiful setting. So the first plan for the Ims home, known as the Bridge House, was designed in 1945 by Charles Eames and Eero Saarinen. The design used prefabricated materials ordered from catalogs, a continuation of the idea of mass production. I like this fact very much, that they also had social concerns. The parts were ordered and the Bridge House design was published in December 1945. Due to a war-driven shortage, the steel did not arrive until late 1948, so 3 years later. By then, according to Ray, she and Charles had fallen in love with the meadow and felt that the site required a different solution. Using the same off-the-shelf parts, this again I love. You know, they created a house with off-the-shelf parts, but notably ordering one extra steel beam. Charles and Ray redesigned the house and built it. They moved into the house on Christmas Eve. Beautiful, you know, start 1949, and lived there for the rest of their lives. And I think if I had a chance to live in that house, I would have never left it either. This is the house. Yes, I think the unusualness of this house derives exactly from the fact that it was assembled from ready-to-use, you know, parts, you know, off-the-shelf parts. So you can do actually an interesting house, you know, with things you can find in a big, you know, mall with construction materials. And it shows their skill to be able to make a convincing architecture that is, you know, not boring at all. In fact, this house is not inferior at all to Schroeder House in the Netherlands, or to anything done by the Stiel in the Netherlands. And here is even more impressive because of the beauty of the landscape. So the contrast between the magnificent trees and vegetation and this abstracted, chromatically rich building. I like this tension between the architecture of the house and the beauty of the trees and the vegetation. And inside, it was like a playground, really, for the two of them. So here you have a man and a woman in love with each other, both creators, both unconventional, but both, I believe, very kind people. And I don't know about that bird on the rug. It's probably not real. It's maybe made of plastic, made in China, but I don't know. Maybe it's real. Who knows? And there are books and there are various chairs. Of course, they were collectors, but they also brought nature within the space. And the space is generous, has double height, and they are not inhibited. You know, there is no really unity of design. It's almost like a heterogeneous house because they use various elements, various lamps, various plants, various chairs, but somehow they come together well. And from the outside is very nice. Here they are, the lovers, contemplating. I think they had fun in this house. Look at that ladder, you know, and it kept changing the interior. You'll see other images. Now, of course, you could build even you know, an ice cream parlor in this landscape and look it might look great because yes, nature is magnificent. Look at Charles Eames with his cubes. What is he doing with those cubes in the living room? He's a kid playing. And I, in my invitational text today, I wrote, you know, this is about working and playing and working. And this is the only way you can be creative. You know, if you play when you work and if you work when you play, you have to unite them with that seriousness of a child who loses himself while playing, as Jean Nouvel said. I really like this about Jean Nouvel, that he declared that he always worked with the seriousness of a child that loses himself while playing or in his play. Yes, that's how it should be. Um, well, now there is some kind of computer there, so it's, you know, some things changed, but the bird is still there. Now it's moved on the table. Anyway, look at this. It's glorious. It's glorious because there is geometry, there is chromatic richness, and so I think man and nature or culture and nature get along very well in this case. They are not enemies, but they have distinct personalities.
God damn it.
Pardon? What I like, you see how the glass is? It's not this ubiquitous glass that we see today, you know, where there is no creation really. We just put large pieces of glass and that's it. Here you have various treatments of the glass openings, you know, with and this creates a richness, you know, a complexity that I admire. Now, you know, we are dealing with exceptional designers with a great taste for aesthetic matters, and it shows. The armchair that you see in the front is also designed by Charles Eames, who will arrive at their furniture designs. So you see there were two houses built, the Ims House, case study house number 2, but there are actually two buildings. Yes, they were showroom houses in a way, but you know, I'm very glad they built them, and I'm very glad they live there because they by living there they enrich them somehow. You know, this was not an experiment that was left, you know, to the capriciousness of the wind. They live there, and they live there for the rest of their lives. So again, if we think about Falling Water by Frank Lloyd Wright and Villa Savoye by Le Corbusier, this is a different kind of architecture, but I would say is not inferior to those very famous buildings. Now, and because of the courageous use of chromatic, you know, chromatically charged panels and so on, I find it in a certain way, I'm tired of the wideness of Villa Savoye. Sorry, Mr. Le Corbusier, but I'm tired. Here you see, and also you see the blackness of the steel frame, which is also shows sophistication and courage. I like it. And inside, I think, was very pleasant. I mean, look at that TV. I think it's a TV. That's a very old-fashioned TV. I don't know what is it there. Is it a TV? Probably. Anyway, lots of candles. I have seen before also other candles, probably Ray like I think that they had the time of their lives in this house, and could. But it's not a dogmatic house. It's not a house like in some creation of Joseph Hoffman, the first star architect, where he designed even the sleepers of the client. This is not a house that that tells you, you know, design has to be absolutely pure and you cannot change in any way its paradigms. No, it's a human house for two human people, human beings, and you know, all kinds of so-called imperfections, you know, but they are not imperfections. They are. I feel you can live in this house. You know, the house is just a gentle carcass. That's all. And a playground really for living and playing and playing and living. So this one I already showed you. Why do I have this? Sorry, I probably saw other pictures, or I don't know what's going on here. You saw this one already, but maybe you didn't see these particular pictures. Anyway, we'll see it again. So they built two houses, this one and the round house. This one, I don't know what happened to it. Maybe nobody lived there, just a showcase house. I'm not insisting on it because we already saw it. And now we'll see some furniture designs. The chairs by Charles Eames, who became very, very famous. But I imagine they also work together on the furniture designs. This is a very famous, you know, armchair, and probably very, very comfortable. He created ergonomic designs, and you know, they are still very valued. So you can have a designer be an architect and an architect be a designer. In fact, there is no contradiction between the two, you know, the two fields. A good architect can be a great urbanist and can be a great designer, and there have been many architects design chairs. He was rather first a designer and then an architect, but again, there is no contradiction really between the two. He also, like in this case, and we'll see a diagram a little later, he designed inexpensive chairs, you know, for mass production, where you would buy in a box the components and you assemble the chair at home. I keep saying it, try to design a chair if you didn't already. It's a very, even a very therapeutical activity. It's very pleasant to design a chair, and it's very challenging. I think Mies van der Rohe was right when he said a chair could be more difficult to design than a skyscraper. And he knew what he was talking about because he designed both skyscrapers and chairs. I like the legs of this of this chair. I don't know, this combination between the plastic seating and the steel structure, maybe there is a little bit of a problem aesthetically, but maybe not. Here also you have the bottom, you know, it's almost like for, you know, a swinging chair with wooden, you know, parts at the lower parts. I don't know. I don't know this combination steel, wood, and plastic, but they designed a lot, and they became very famous for this and very successful. And you know, if you are unemployed as an architect or you don't have clients, you can always design furniture, and it's easier to, you can even, you know, produce the chair by yourself under certain conditions. So what I'm saying is, don't be desperate or very sad if you don't have a job, or if you hate your job in architecture, or you don't have clients. You can always late in the evening, you know, take a pencil and conceive a new kind of chair or a seating, and yeah, it's also therapeutical to design a chair, I think. Here you see the assembly instruction for that chair that we saw previously, with the legs. You know, you got them in a box, and once you arrive home, you assemble the chair. Why not? This has been done actually many times. with components made in China these days, or until now. I don't know about the effects of the pandemic. Okay, so here is another rather strange chair because it seems low. It's the height is, and it's not for a child, but it's interesting. You see the dimensions here. 37 centimeters is not really enough. It should be around 40, 45 centimeters. But anyway, they did it. It was built, and now you see. Another design for Billy Wilder, well-known North American. I don't know exactly what he, TV personality or actor or someone in Hollywood, but they designed a very nice, you know, as it is called, day bed. You know, day bed for those people who can afford to be in bed during the day, meaning either unemployed or sufficiently rich not to work. But it's a very nice piece, I think, you know, in these quintessential colors, red and black, Eros and Thanatos. Nice. It could have been called, actually, Eros and Thanatos. I like it. And I think it was moderately comfortable. Maybe a little narrow for Mr. Billy Wilder, but maybe when they designed it, he was more slim. You see a picture of him. Because they also designed a house, and now we arrive, this is the last work that I show. They made a project for Billy Wilder's house, but it was never built. You can't see anything here, sorry. And there is Billy Wilder on the left, and here are the designers, Charles Ims and Ray Eames. And this is a sketch. Reminds me a little bit of some drawings by Miss. This was, I don't know, maybe it was, I don't know if it was done during their lifetime or afterwards. This kind of, I don't know if it's digital. No, it's probably a picture of the model. But it's hard to say what is going on there really. And another picture of the model. And that's it. So, as I said, Charles Eames died on the 19th of August, on the 21st of August, sorry. And we paid our homage to him. So if you feel like saying anything about Charles Eames or about mid-century America or about this kind of aesthetics or this kind of design, please do so.